You're good to go, Mayor.
Thank you. Welcome everyone to this ordinary meeting of Council. This meeting is being broadcast via Council's website, and I wish everyone who is viewing a very good afternoon, and I hope that you are going well. I would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we are meeting and the lands to which this afternoon's broadcast reaches. We also pay our respects to their elders and to the elders from other communities who may be watching or in attendance. This afternoon, we will be holding a virtual meeting of the Buloke Shire Council. Throughout the meeting, councillors must be able to see and be seen, hear and be heard. To ensure we are meeting these guidelines, we will commence with a roll call of councillors to establish they are fully connected. Lower Avoca Ward, Councillor David Pollard.
Yes, Mr Mayor, I can see and hear you.
Amelie Ward, Councillor Alan Getley.
Good afternoon, Mr Mayor. I can hear and see you and hear and see everybody.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor, Councillor David Viss.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I can hear and see everybody.
Fellow Mount Jeffcott Ward councillors, Councillor Graham Milne.
Yes, Mr Mayor, I can see everybody and hear everybody. Thank you.
And Councillor Bronwyn Simpson.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I can see and hear each member. Thank you.
Thank you. If a conflict of interest is declared, the councillor or councillors who has the conflict will be removed from the meeting completely for that item and reinstated after that item has been dealt with before the meeting can proceed. Councillors will vote by showing their hands, making sure their raised hand is within shot. If any councillor or councillors lose connectivity during the meeting will be suspended until connection is restored to all councillors. For the purposes of our audience, we have one matter that will be closed to the public for council to consider, the confidential matter 4.1.1 contract number 9320202021, provision of municipal building surveyor and building inspector services. If council's broadcast to the council meeting experiences technical difficulties and drops out, the meeting will be adjusted connection. It is also worth noting that there is public, I don't think any public participation tonight. So they are, if you like, the ground rules for the meeting. So councillors, having considered those, do we have any apologies for the meeting this afternoon?
Yes, Mr Mayor, Councillor Carolyn Stewart.
Thank you, Mr Judd. Point 3, declaration of pecuniary and conflicts of interest. Councillors.
Yes, Mr Mayor, I have a conflict of interest in the matter, and I can't see it because I can't get to the screen, sorry. The matter pertaining to the Buloke Tourism Board grant funding.
Thank you, Councillor Milne. I do have a conflict at 3.1.1, which is the community grants and sponsorship, and also in the adoption of the budget at 3.1.2, which also relates to the Buloke Tourism Board. So I will declare those conflicts. Thank you, councillors. 3.1 management reports, 3.1.1 community grants and sponsorship. As indicated, I've declared a conflict of interest for the councillors.
I'm going to hand over to Councillor Viss to chat.
Councillor Viss, as Deputy Mayor, I'm handing over to you to take this particular part of the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Warren. Are we all ready to go there, Mr Judd?
Just hold for 1 minute, Councillor Viss. I think this was the item that Councillor Milne also declared a conflict in this community grants program. So Travis will be, yep, we're right to go, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Procedural items, management reports, item 3.1.1, community grants and sponsorship. Ms Harris, would you like to introduce us to council, please?
Thank you, Mr Deputy Mayor. And through you, I would like to present the community grants and sponsorship report that's before you this afternoon. This report's presented to council to consider the allocation under the community grants program And this month, the recommendation comes with several applications. In particular, the $6,600 application for sustainability grant for the Friends of Mount Wycheproof, $1,000 towards an organisational support grant to the Buloke Tourism Board, $1,500 project small equipment grant, the Birchip Historical Society, $1,500 application for the project support grant for the Donald Lions Club, and $1,250 project support grant to the Chum Lake Aquatic Club. The report before you outlines the projects at play, and I present it to Council for their consideration.
Thank you, Ms. Harris. Do I have a mover for this report? Anyone? Councillor Getling. Do I have a seconder for this report? Councillor Simpson. Councillors, is there any councillor that would actually like a discussion on this report or any questions? Councillor Pollard.
I'd like to discuss the feasibility of Buloke support, the organisation for Buloke Tourism Grant, because it's so shortly in our budget we're going to be approving another $1,000 grant. I think it looks a little bit like double dipping, and I just think we should remove that from the recommendation, from the motion.
Okay, so you are requesting a procedural motion for this, aren't you, Councillor Pollard?
No, I'm requesting an amendment to remove the organisational support grant. You require a seconder.
Okay, so I would need a seconder for that. So I have a seconder for Councillor Pollard's recommendation.
Councillor Viz, that seems to have lapsed, so I would suggest you move back to the original motion.
Okay, so we go back to the original motion. So do we have a mover, we have a seconder. So now it's time to vote on that motion. All councillors in favour of that motion? Right, there's 3 councillors in favour.
Mr. Deputy,
so that motion is carried.
Yeah, you can declare that carried.
Yep, so that's declared carried. Okay, thank you very much, councillors. Can we get Councillor Warren back into the room, please, and Councillor Milne.
Thank you. Now, 3.1.2 adoption of annual budget for 2021-2022. As I have declared a pecuniary interest at this particular item.
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor.
Yes,
I'd like to move a procedural item.
Yes.
That we separate item 1 out of the recommendation, so as you and Councillor Milne can leave for the declaration to allow us to include that into the budget and come back in to vote on the budget for the other points.
Thank you, Councillor Pollard. So you've so moved. Thank you.
Just check if that's carried.
Is that carried, councillors? Thank you, councillors. Excuse me.
We're good to go there, Anthony?
We are, Mr. Deputy Mayor.
Okay, so item 3.1.2.
Just hold, sorry, Mr. Deputy Mayor.
Are you, Ms. Trav, taking us out?
Oh, Trav. Yeah.
Just confirming you were calling a conflict there? Yep. Okay. Thanks. Sorry, Deputy Mayor, you're right to go.
Okay, so the item 3.1.2, the adoption of the annual budget 2021-2022 financial year. Can I have a mover for the request of item 1 as per Councillor Pollard's motion? Is that correct, Mr.? Yep, I have one there. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Simpson. Is there any discussion on this currently? Yes, Mr. Getley, Councillor Getley.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. No discussion, but I'd just like to say that a significant amount of work has gone into this by council officers. It's a very lengthy project, and I'd like to congratulate them on their efforts, and well done on getting this budget to this stage. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Getley. Are there any other questions, Councillor Getley, sorry. Are there any other questions from any other councillors at this point of time? No? Okay, so we'll then take it to a vote. So can we have a vote on section 1 as per Councillor David Pollard? All those in favour? Motion carried. So we can now invite Councillor Warren and Councillor Milne back into the room.
Thank you. Director of Corporate Services, Mrs. Hugh, would you like to introduce this very important report? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And through you, I'm pleased to present the 2021-22 annual budget to the council this afternoon. The budget was considered by council at its May meeting for endorsement prior to the period of community engagement. Councillors and staff presented the draft budget to community groups and key stakeholders and staged listening posts throughout the council to discuss the budget and key initiatives contained within it. This coming year, the budget reflects the resources required to deliver the first part of the council plan, 21 to 25, which will be considered by the council at this meeting as well. So key initiatives within the budget include the review of the council's 10-year capital works program, review of our waste and recycling management, the redevelopment of our 10 town plans, implementation of key projects under the Silo Art Activation Fund, and the development of a new economic development and tourism strategy. We continue high investment into our infrastructure within the forthcoming financial year, totaling $19.5 million, which includes $7.4 million into our roads network, $4.9 million for land and building improvements, and investment into other infrastructure, including parks, drainage and footpaths, totaling $6 million. This year also, the council has reduced the rating differential for farming properties to 70%, down from 80% in the 2021 financial year, in recognition of property valuation increases for farming properties relative to the average valuation increase for other categories across the municipality. We're also pleased to receive a number of submissions to the draft budget, which has been amended to provide the $2,000 funding for each of our neighbourhood houses and $1,000 for the Buloke Tourism Board. Council's also committed to undertaking a strategic review of contributions and grants within the coming financial year to ensure our framework continues to provide the support which is most reflective of our community needs. This includes providing clear information about alternative avenues of funding support for community groups to support them in the achievement of their objectives as they arise throughout the year. I'm really pleased to present the annual budget for the consideration of the council.
Thank you, Mrs. Hugh. Very comprehensive. Councillors, we have any questions at this stage? Thank you, councillors. We do have a recommendation, and it reads, provides the following details in relation to the annual budget 2021 to 2022. There are no new borrowings proposed in the 2021-22 financial year. The rate in the dollar for each type of rate to be levied for the period of 1st July 2021 to the 30th of June 2022 is as follows. Type of rate, rateable residential properties. A cents in the dollar in CIV, 0.73991. Rateable commercial properties, 0.73991. Rateable industrial properties, 0.73991. Rateable farming properties, 0.5 1794. 3, rate a municipal charge $170 for each rateable assessment in respect of which a municipal charge may be levied. 4, levy an annual service charge of $422 for curbside garbage and recycling collection for the period 1 July 2021 to 30 June 2022. 3, levies the general rates and service charges referred to in this resolution by the service notice on each person liable to pay such rate or charge in accordance with Section 158 of the Local Government Act 1989. 4, in accordance with Section 167 of the Local Government Act 1989, the rates and charges declared by Council for 2021 financial year must be paid as follows. 1, by 4 instalments made on or before the following dates. Instalment 1, 30th September 2021. Instalment 2, 30th of November 2021. Instalment 3, 28th of February 2022. And instalment 4, 31st of May 2022, or by a lump sum payment made on or before the 15th of February 2022. 5, authorises the Chief Executive Officer to levy and recover the general rates and annual service charges in accordance with the Local Government Act of 1989. And 6, determines that the proposed fees and charges for 2021-2022 financial year be adopted. Councillors, we have a recommendation. Do I have a councillor to move that recommendation? Councillor Vista move. Councillor Getley to second. Is there any opposition, councillors? No. So, councillors, thank you very much. That is carried. Well done, staff. The budget is through. You send those rate notices out. 3.1.3, Council Plan 2021 to 2025, Long-Term Community Vision. Director of Community Development, Mrs. Harris.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm extremely grateful to have the opportunity to present this report to Council today. This is the culmination of a lot of work and community engagement to develop our Council Plan 2021 to 2025 and our long-term community vision. Council must adopt and prepare a council plan for the period of at least the next 4 financial years after a general election, and council must also prepare a community vision with an outlook of at least the next 10 years. This document presents both of these together under our 4 strategic objective areas of our built and natural environment, our community wellbeing, our economy, and our council and community leadership. The draft document came to council in the May meeting, and this comes back following a period of community feedback. It's worth noting that this document also incorporates the Municipal Health and Wellbeing Plan for the second time from a Buloke Shire perspective, and feedback from the state through this process has also been incorporated in this final document. It's been pleasing to receive a high level of community engagement, both in developing the draft document and some great submissions that came throughout the community feedback process. This document will be reviewed annually, and the next step will be to move to our annual plan. So the quality and depth of engagement and feedback we've received will continue to help us through those next steps. The document presents a range of data and a focus on partnerships about how we can work collaboratively together for the best outcomes of our community. As a guiding document over the next 4 years and ultimately the vision for the next 10 years, this document comes under our vision of building a better Buloke, which is familiar to many people and relates to several different ways of how we achieve that vision. I present this report to Council for their consideration.
Thank you, Mrs. Harris. Councillors, are there any questions at this stage? No, councillors? Thank you. Councillors, we do have a recommendation that Council adopt the long-term community vision and Council Plan 2021 to 2025. Do I have a mover for this recommendation? Councillor Simpson to move it. Councillor Pollard to second. Is there any opposition, councillors? Thank you, councillors. That's carried. Thank you very much. 3.1.4 adoption of a revenue and rating plan. Mrs. Hugh.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through you. The development of a 4-year rating plan or revenue and rating plan is a new requirement under the Local Government Act of 2020. The development of this plan has been based on the current rating strategy and rating policy, which was adopted by the Council in 2019 and adjusted to reflect some changes to the legislation. It sets out the details of the policies the council has in place for each source of revenue and its systems of rate and charges. Key policy commitments under this plan include the continued use of capital improved value system of valuation, the maintenance of the 4 differential rates being residential, commercial and industrial rates at 100% of the general rate, and farm rates at 70% of the general rate. The policy proposes to maintain the municipal charge at $170, curbside garbage and recycling provided at full cost recovery, rates payable by quarterly instalment or as a yearly lump sum in February, and benchmarking of non-statutory fees and charges, including subsidised fees and charges. Pleased to present the revenue and rating plan for the consideration of the council.
Thank you, Mrs. Hugh. Councillors, any questions? Councillor Pollard.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. I was actually waving to someone walking past, but that's good. Just a question in reference to when we start looking at the differential again. I am a little bit concerned with waiting for the 5%. I know recently the huge rises in farm rates you can really put it as 20%, but when things settle down a little bit, is 5% too far, or would we be better at 1% like we used to have?
Thanks, Councillor Pollard.
Thank you, Councillor Pollard, and through you. Yeah, look, certainly our aim is to increase the tolerance level to 5% because of those market fluctuations, and our forecasting has identified it's going to be difficult for us to maintain all rating categories within a 1% variance. Having said that, it is Atria and the council isn't beholden by the plan and may review the rating and revenue plan at any time throughout the term. We'll certainly provide detailed information about the impact of valuations ahead of the development of each budget as well to the council.
Thank you, Mrs. Hugh. Councillor Milne.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I concur with Councillor Pollard on that, on his concern, and have also raised this issue before with the same explanation given by Mrs. Hugh now in writing. In a bulletin, I just believe that forecasting is fine, and we have to base a lot of what we do on forecasting. But I just think that if we don't look at this realistically, in that we need to be able to move when things need to move, then we're not doing justice by our ratepayers and those who will wear the biggest burden. So I am pleased to hear that we can alter this at any stage going forward, as long as we've got acceptance, obviously. But I am opposed to the 5% increase in this rating and revenue strategy. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Milne. Other councillors have any comment, questions? Thank you. Councillors, we do have a recommendation the council adopt the revenue and rating plan. Do I have a councillor to move that recommendation? Councillor Getley to move it. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Pollard to second. Is there any opposition, councillors? Councillors, that's carried. Oh, sorry, Councillor Milne. Councillor Milne against. Thank you, Councillor Milne. That is carried. Thank you. 3.1.5 adoption of financial plan 2021 to 2022 through to 2030-2031. This is you.
Thank you. Through the Mayor, the Act requires Council to develop, adopt and keep in force a financial plan for a period of at least 10 years. The plan is considered an integral part of Council's overall planning process and provides a longer term perspective on our ongoing financial sustainability and also the impact of financial decisions into the longer term. Council, through the plan, has continued with its commitment to maintain the existing range and level of service provision, maintain a viable cash position to ensure financial sustainability into the future, continue rationalisation of unused assets, as well as investment into asset renewal for road infrastructure, and pursuing recurrent grant funding for strategic capital funds from the state and federal government. The plan will be reviewed on an annual basis alongside the budget in future years. Although no submissions were received in relation to the plan, submissions were received in relation to other plans within the Council's integrated strategic planning framework, which have application to the plan, and the plan has been amended accordingly. I'm pleased to present the financial plan this afternoon for the consideration of the Council.
Thank you, Mrs. Yu. Councillors, are there any questions, please? No. Councillor Pollard?
There's no question, Mr. Mayor, but I think I'd be reneged if I didn't comment on it. When we look at this long-term financial plan, it actually shows a huge reliance that we have on grants. When you look towards the end, there's huge deficits coming up. Our staff do a fantastic job trying to maintain our operational budget to as low as physically possible. We as councillors can be a little bit haphazard at times. And I think we as councillors should actually look and consider the effects that our decisions are making on the operational budget to support our staff in maintaining this long-term financial plan. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thanks, Councillor Pollard. And your views are noted and well documented. And that's what it's about. We need to consider all views on the table to understand our situation. Councillors, we do have a recommendation that the Council have complied with its obligations under the Local Government Act of 2020, adopts the Financial Plan 2021 to 22 to 2030-31, including to the following amendments from draft. 1. Confirmation of the Financial Assistance Grant, FAG 2021-22, an estimate of advance payment 2022-23. 2. Additional expenditure relating to the increase of the FAG. 3. Corrections and updates to capital works projects since the draft. And 4. Additional allocations to community groups following Council's adoption of the annual budget 2021-22. Yeah. I feel like Richie Beno there. Councillors, do I have a councillor to move this recommendation? Councillor Gatley to move. Councillor Pollard to second. Is there any opposition, councillors? Councillors, that is carried. Thank you very much. And thanks, staff, because I think with the adoption of those rather weighty things today, we've certainly lived up to our expectations of the new Local Government Act by hitting those targets and hitting them well and inside the deadlines set by the government. So well done to the staff for doing that. It's great to see that. And councillors, thanks for your input, because without the input from the councillors, it makes it very difficult. So thank you very much. Now, do we need to move this alternative recommendation?
Yeah, if you read to that.
Okay. Councillors, moving along to our agenda at 4.1, matters which may exclude the public. That pursuant to section 661 and 2A of the Local Government Act 2020, the meeting be closed to the public to consider the following reports that are considered to contain confidential information on the grounds provided in section 3.1 of the Local Government Act 2020 as indicated. 4.1.1, contract number C93 2020-2021, provision of municipal building surveyor and building inspector services G2, private commercial information, being information provided by a business, commercial or financial undertaking that, if released, would unreasonably expose the business, commercial or financial undertakings to disadvantage. Councillor, we have a recommendation. Do I have a mover, please? Councillor Pollard to move that. Councillor Gatley to second that. Is there any opposition, councillors? That's carried. Thank you, councillors. Mr. Travis.
Everyone seems to be on mute. Everyone hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Everyone's back in main session there.
Just to confirm, Trav, are we still recording?
We are still live streaming, yes.
Okay.
I have to do that last bit.
Welcome back to the council meeting, viewers. That concludes our meeting this afternoon. The next ordinary meeting of council will be held in Witchyproof on the 14th of July 2021 at 7 p.m. Thank you everyone for attendance and viewing.